Let's go.
Second week of fall camp. What are we hearing? What do you want to start with first? The
Well,
quarterbacks or the offensive line?
I'm a big ugly, so I'm going to talk about some big uglies.
Okay.
And let's talk about it, Eric.
Now,
Thursday,
I've got
Thursday.
I've got
Yeah.
some serious thoughts on this, and I'm not going to hold back because
Yep.
there are some of you fans out there who, for a lack of better term, are accepting the bull crap they're feeding you.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to
Okay.
say.
So
Take
here
your
we
go.
go. So on Thursday, Jimmy Simmons loses his stripe. On Friday, he supplants Josh Fryer as the team's
We're
starting left tackle.
experimenting.
We're not experimenting with crap. He has supplanted, and they may not say it in Columbus, but he has supplanted Josh Fryer, who was, Eric, you said it last week, being lazy and undisciplined, and they've moved Fryer to starting right tackle. However, is Fryer's free fall over? Because let me tell you, Luke Montgomery lost his black stripe, and we talked about concern about that. But right now, he's slated at number 2 on that right tackle depth chart. And again, we have to have some concern if he does work up his way to number 1, short of him coming out and performing like an Orlando pace. And I just don't see that happening.
Ryan Day, concerning Luke Montgomery, let's start there.
Yeah.
Ryan Day had a lot of really nice things to say, but the thing he said that was, and this is what you needed to highlight, this is what stood out.
Yep.
He's got a bright
Right.
future.
Future.
That does not mean he's starting. I'm sorry. And
It doesn't.
you and I have both said this. If we start a true freshman at tackle on the offensive line and his name is not Orlando freaking Pace, something went
Is wrong.
wrong. He's not ready for big time Division 1 national championship left tackle play. He's just not. You want to
But
play him
clearly,
at
neither is Josh Fryer. That's
guard
why Jimmy
this
Simmons
year?
is there.
Okay, kick him out the tackle next year as a sophomore. He's got a bright future. I believe that. I think
I
he's your
do.
starting. I think he's your starting tackle next year as a sophomore. I really do. I think he might be the first backup tackle, even ahead of Shabola.
Yeah.
But the experimenting comment is hogwash. And all the people who are like, they can play multiple positions. You
No.
don't mess with left tackle.
You don't mess with anything once you get it set on that line because they need to develop chemistry. They need to know what the other is thinking. They need to know how the other's going to move, how they're going to act, what they're going to do. And they need to have a rhythm. They need to be in sync. And you don't get that moving around. I'm sorry. That was
So,
a line of crap.
yes, it was a nice way of saying things aren't going well at left tackle.
Yeah.
He's not, no coach is going to come to the podium and say, boy, we're looking bad at left tackle. We need to make a change.
No, but they'll say
No
we're
coach is
experimenting.
going to say that.
Yeah.
Okay? Experimenting means we need to look for something here. We
Well,
need
and you
to
called this last week, Eric.
I
You
did.
you said he was being lazy. He wasn't showing leadership. He was cutting out early on drills. You saw that before, and obviously Ryan Day did as well.
Bama has started tackles, haven't they? Yes. Your point? What's your point on that, Lenny?
We,
Give me your point. So
we've started some too, Lenny, but
yeah,
outside of
yeah.
pace, it hadn't worked out great.
No. Name me one true freshman at offense on the offensive line, not named Orlando Pace, that played extremely well as a true freshman. It just is so rare in college football. Bama might have had a few. I don't know their program as well as Ohio State, obviously, but that one, okay. So let's get back to what I'm getting at. Okay, Yes, thank you, Chris. Someone understands it. You can't have a quarterback running
Correct.
for his life. We're going to get a quarterback killed. It's not going to matter who we choose. If his blind side isn't secure, he
Correct.
will get crushed. All right. So Fryer played well at right tackle in place of DeJuan Jones when called upon at the end of the year.
Right.
Okay. They saw that. We lost both tackles. Paris Johnson, DeJuan Jones, they're gone. They went to the NFL. The coaches saw that and they thought Fryer probably is going to be our best chance at left tackle, the best guy. They put him there in the spring. He looked bad.
Real
He
bad.
looked bad. I went to the practice last week. He looked bad. Still looked bad. Maybe moving him to right tackle is exactly what he needs. Maybe this is what he wanted all
Maybe
along.
it's a comfort thing for him.
It might
Maybe
be. It might be.
it's a lot. And you know what? I don't want to sit here and I've never played tackle on an offensive line, especially at an elite level like this. But you know, right tackle is not the same as left tackle. It's just not.
It's not.
You
It is if
don't
you have a
have
left-handed quarterback,
correct.
but we don't. They're both right-handed guys.
Yeah,
All of them are right-handed guys, and the majority of them are. Frank Taraka. By the way, Frank's a tremendous writer on Scarlet and Game. Go check it out. Read his stuff. Couldn't agree more, guys. Alarm bells going off. I'm starting to get worried. Yeah, we've been alarming these bells ever since spring. Chris and I have.
3 weeks before the start of the season, you got reason to be worried.
Jimmy Simmons gets his black stripe removed. They kick him from right to left. What's that tell you, Chris? About Jimmy. Let's let's give let's give Fryer a chance at right tackle. I feel better about him being at right than left.
I agree because we've seen him. We've seen him as a proven commodity at right.
Correct.
I think that tells me that Jimmy Simmons, A, they have more faith in him at that position, but B, maybe he's shown a little bit better leadership along that offensive line as well.
Is it possible that when Ryan Day said experiment, that's what he meant right there? Let's
Very possible.
experiment with Jimmy at left because it ain't working with Fryer at left. Let's move Fryer back to where he was good last season, where he's comfortable. Let's experiment with Jimmy at left. And if it becomes an experiment that fails, and we have to kick Fryer back to the left, mark it down. This is a 4-loss offensive line. Not saying we will lose 4. I'm just saying that the offensive line is a 4-loss offensive line.
But I'll tell you
If
what,
we
if
have to
that
do that.
does happen, if they do have to do that, I'm telling you right now, you're not going to beat a few of these Big Ten defensive lines, including that one from Ann Arbor.
Robert said Jimmy played left tackle last year. That would have been for San Diego State. I'll have to look into that. I recall him being at right tackle, but I could be wrong. Again, I wasn't a San Diego State. Are they the Aztecs? Is that who they are?
Yes.
I'm not a big Aztec fan, so I'm not sure about that one. I'll take your word for it, Robert. I'm remembering it a little different, but um, I'll take your word for it. Larry says, "What about rolling over the tight end to the left side?" Yeah, they're gonna. We talked about this before. They might play a lot of 12-man personnel.
And yeah. And
They
I'll
you
tell you
might
what
see
they
a
did.
lot of two. You might see a lot of two tight end sets out there. And by the way,
I
don't be
was,
surprised if those tight ends are the younger guys who you've not heard of, because they looked pretty
yeah.
doggone good at the practice I was at. So yeah, so when you look at that, let me pull up the depth chart real fast. At tight end, Cade Stover, obviously, Sam Hart and Bennett Christian.
Yeah.
Both looked really good. Jelani Thurman's a true freshman. He's more of, I think, a downfield threat with a big body. It's going to take him a while to, I think, adapt to the physicality of blocking at tight end in the Big Ten. Joe Royer has not shown me anything about being able to block at this point. Same thing with G. Scott. They're both kind of offensive weapons
But
in the passing game. You need big blocking tight ends if you're going to do 12 man to help them roll over to help the tackles on the edge.
but do you think you may see Stover be the one who slides to the left because he is the more physical guy? And then because we did see Royer and G. Scott both taking some first team snaps at the last day of practice this last week.
If that's
Could it
what you're
be
Yeah,
that
if that's
they're
what
going to
you're gonna
bring one of
do
these
though,
guys and just to take more of the passing aspect of it.
If that's what you're going to do, then you run the risk, I think, of kind of telegraphing your offense slightly.
You
When
do,
if G Scott and Roy are out there and they're going down and running running wide receiver routes, or they're running routes every time they're in at tight end, and they never stay back to block, and Stover's always blocking, you've kind of already telegraphed to the defense what you're going to do. So if they're going to do that, they need to be very, very careful that they don't get into a place where they become predictable in that. They need to make sure that they change it up. Okay,
yeah,
so that the other teams coaches can't look at that and be like, this is what they're going to do with this formation, and then the defense knows. Double tight ends with actual I formation. Wow, classic Big Ten football. I don't know if we'll go with I formation. However, Chris, you might be interested to
yeah,
know they are working on huddling.
yeah. I'll tell you
And
what, though, would that not completely take the Big Ten and perhaps the nation by storm if Ryan Day came out with a more traditional Big Ten offense like that? That
yes,
that would throw everybody into a frenzy, I think.
Chip can chip on the way to the flats. Yeah, but if Chip's in there chipping, guess who's not in there?
Mayan or Travion.
Mayan and Travion. And that's another offensive weapon you're taking away. Unless you're going to put Chip in as a fullback, and then if that's the case, then he should be your lead blocker, and you should just run the football down their throats. Because I will
Yes.
give the offensive line credit for this: the guards and center can push. Those boys are doing a great job offensive blocking with what I've seen
And
with my
and
two
Chip
eyes.
looks like he could body slam a Buick.
Dude's huge. He's a rhinoceros, man. Guy is absolute. He's just all muscle. He's a
Yeah.
beast. All right, quarterback.
Let's talk quarterback.
You asked me the question last week, Chris. If I had to pick a starter today, who would I
Yes.
have picked? And I said to you that if Ryan Day would have called me and asked me my opinion, and um, which he never will, but if he would have, I would have said, I've got to go. Not with Kyle McCord, which was who I thought I would go with, but with Devin Brown.
Right.
And I think he offered me a few things that I liked. I felt he moved around in the pocket a little better. I liked his mechanics a little better. I wasn't at practice this week. I can't answer to this, but the experts who I trust, two of them, um, and I won't mention them by name unless you really, really want me to, but two of them both said they feel, based off what they've seen, that Kyle McCord has taken
Yes.
a slight lead in the race. I made the comment that this yesterday's scrimmage, was very important for Kyle McCord. Unless he fell flat on his face, I believe that this week Ryan Day will announce him as the starter for week 1 against Indiana. I have not heard how the scrimmage went. I am going based off, I made that prediction based off two things. Again, no, Ryan Day did not say that, and Ryan Day did not tell me that. That's why it's called a prediction. I feel he will do this for two reasons. Number one, past precedents has set that this is the week he's announced a starter. He did
Correct.
for CJ Stroud, he did for Justin Fields. I also believe they did for Dwayne Haskins, I believe as
Which is
well.
probably the most relevant to our conversation today because I think
Correct.
with Fields and Stroud, there was a clear number one.
Unless Saturday was so even or Day did not see what he needed, I think this week he announces Kyle McCord as the starter. Why that's important is this: you need to give the offense and the team confidence as a head coach that you're going with somebody, whether
Yes.
that be McCord or Brown. You cannot do the flip flop thing. And I've
No.
heard some people say it's okay if we go into week 1 and we don't know who the starter is and you let them both play.
No, it's not. It's really not.
It's not, because I'll tell you why. It gives the offense questions in their mind. It could create division amongst the offense and the team. That's my guy. That's my guy. I like him better. He throws a better ball to me. He throws to me more than he does. You see what I'm getting at? Number two, the biggest problem on our offense is the offensive line. And if you change quarterbacks on them, it's a completely different ball game.
Yeah, the
They
cadence is different. The way they call the snaps are different. I mean, you can't do that and expect success out of a offensive line, especially one that's this fresh, this new.
and here's the other thing. The longer this goes on, the lower of a chance you have of beating Notre Dame in week 4.
Correct. You have to have a team that is gelled and is running as a productive unit.
Couldn't agree more with you, Chris. At this point, you need the guy who leans into the huddle and everyone believes.
That's
Yes,
right.
you need the
That's right.
leader. You need the leader. And if that guy is Kyle McCord, then let's go with him. If that guy's Devin Brown, let's go with him.
Yeah.
Don't jack around these guys anymore. You gave them the competition. Who's won? If you gave yourself a time frame, and if it's like, hey, at this point, I don't know. If we're still at that point,
And
this
and
is just as bad as the offensive line.
it is. And let me tell you, Eric, you have to and Frank is absolutely right there. Let me tell you. The whole Cardell JT thing has just, ruined the thought of having a system with two QBs like that. You can't have your starting guy looking over his shoulder after every single play. You can't. You just can't. That is what screwed up Cardale. That and the fact that Urban Meyer wanted to call a JT game for a guy with a different set of tools. Well, you know what? Ryan Day is looking at that same situation. Maybe not as
Mm-hmm.
drastically, but you're looking at two guys with different sets of tools.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you have to really shape your offense around those tools. And you have to put the offensive line together that's going to give these guys the best chance to succeed given their tools. So
So
if we're still undecided 3 weeks before we can kick off, Eric, that's a scary, scary situation for this team. And I'm with you. I don't know that it's a four loss team or more if you can't decide by now.
I'm telling you right now, Notre Dame is going to take that game like it's the freaking Super Bowl.
You better believe it.
This is their opportunity to make a statement that they have arrived
They have not beaten Ohio State in
since
how
the
many years?
night since 1934.
34? Yeah.
No, we haven't played very much, but I
No,
think
but
I
we've had a
think we're
couple a couple home and home series.
we're
We've
on
had
a
a couple bowl games.
we're on a 5 game winning streak against them.
Yeah.
2 against John Cooper. Tressel beat him once. Urban beat him once, and Ryan Days beat him once.
Yes.
Um, so yeah, that's not a game. That's a game where you mess around, you find out. Mess around and find out.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
I do not want us to be messing around. Um, Ryan, I sure hope not, man.
If
That would be a big. He says that's going to happen in his follow up. Is that's going to happen at the Indiana game? I hope not. That's a mistake. That's a mistake. I I I, I could be wrong. It wouldn't be
if
the first time that I've made a statement and had to come on and
but you know what?
apologize.
If
But
he goes in there though and says, "Listen, Kyle McCord is my starter. He's going to play the first half. He's going to put the points up on the board where Devin Brown's going in to play the second half to get some quality time." That's
yes,
that's one thing.
the worst thing that could happen is it is similar to what happened with CJ Stroud at the beginning of the season when he first started. Struggled against Minnesota, had a really bad game, and then Akron, that's when McCord got to start, right? Remember that?
And
And
the
then when
chance
he
we're starting, the chance
and,
we're starting, replace him.
and then when CJ Stroud came back, he was lights out.
Yeah,
Larry brings up a good point. If you're gonna lose early and wake them out of their slumber. Yeah, but I don't ever want to lose.
no.
I want to go undefeated, Larry. I mean,
The,
that's you. you play to win the game, right? I mean, that's
Losing is not an option. It's just
I,
not.
I agree, Larry. If we're gonna have a loss, that one hurts a lot less, but it also gives Notre Dame the tiebreaker against you if they were to lose, say, to a Clemson, and it comes down to you and Notre
USC.
Dame for game 4 or USC, and it comes down to them and us for that 4th seed. They're going to get that seed because they beat us head to head. So you need to win that football game. Both QBs will play. McCord leads 48-0. Then Devin comes in and for hands off. That's typically how it's gone, right? If you're going to pick a starter.
Yeah.
If you're going to pick a starter, that's typically how it goes. All right.
But one thing I don't like he said there, Eric, is then Devin comes in and hands off.
No,
I
you got
have
to run
gotten
the
on
offense.
I have gotten on Ryan Day about this for the last couple of years. You put your backups in, you still run your offense. That's what we had before was the situation that we had backups who had never thrown a pass.
Yep.
You can't have that. Just
Yep.
can't.
You got to run the same offense, or they're not really getting the good reps that they need in live action. All right, the last thing I want to touch on before we take our commercial break, Emeka Egbuka let his frustrations be known in front of everybody on Friday. Walking off the field, he said, and I don't have the direct quote in front of me, but he said something on the lines of, "We can't even run a screenplay right now." Some said he was talking about the backup offensive line, so chill out. I disagree. I disagree.
I think
You
he's
should
talking about the
not.
starters.
Well, even if he is talking about the backup offensive line, why shouldn't we hold them to the same standard? These are
Correct.
guys who are one injury away from being in the game.
Yes.
When was the last time we had an offensive line play completely healthy for the whole season? It wasn't that long ago. We had one season where that happened, but only one in my entire recollection of being a Ohio State fan where all 5 starters played every single game on the offensive line throughout the whole year. It hardly ever happens. So your backups need to be ready. They're only one snap away from getting a win. Chris, what's the one thing all Ohio State fans say every single time there's a stinking injury?
Next good.
Next man up.
No.
Here you go. You can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
If it's next man up, then you got to hold them to the same standard. And that's what Emeka Egbuka was doing. If it was the backup offensive line, that's what he was doing. You guys got to run it to the same standard. If you can't do it, what are we doing here?
You know what's scary though is that you've pushed this guy to have to say that at all. Not only that, but I don't necessarily I understand his frustration, but that seems to me like something that should be voiced in the locker room, not so much in public.
Mm-hmm. Uh, do y'all think we will be 25 passes against 25 runs, or what are your thoughts? I think Ryan Day is wants to be as absolutely balanced as humanly possible.
And I think he has to be this year. He has to be. And if not balanced, he may even need to be. He needs to be a little run heavy this year. I'm sorry, he has to be,
Yeah,
especially given the way this beginning of the season needs to start.
I love Liddy. I love you, man. All right, 4 losses? Question mark. Who would those be against? Whiskey, Notre Dame, Team Up North, and
Penn State would be
Penn
the other
State.
one that would beat him.
Mm-hmm.
But you know
Penn.
what? If this line isn't in shape, you got to
Don't
watch out for teams like
don't
Iowa,
sleep on Maryland. Don't sleep on
Maryland.
Maryland. Do
You
we even
know,
play Iowa? I
no,
don't
we don't
even know
have
if they.
Iowa, I don't think, but
No, we have Minnesota though,
we have
right before the
Minnesota.
game up north against the
Uh,
team up north. So but that one's at home. But my point is this. Yes, this is also a very good point, Chris, and one that we've talked about. I think this year will show off our running back depth.
it needs to.
We have a very good running back room, and this offensive line has shown that they can run block. You go back and you watch the recruiting videos from the offensive linemen who we have. Well, you know what they were all really good at in high school? Run
Run blocking.
blocking. They were all maulers. We need to use that to our advantage. We might have. And I know the team up north, we just got done pre-recording before we started our live show tonight, the team up north season preview.
Yeah,
And we've gloated about their offensive line because it's so doggone good. And it's good again this year, guys. It's really, really good. It might even be better than what it was last year. But here's the thing. If we run block, like we can, I think we can be better at running the football than them.
Oh, and nothing against Blake Corum or Donovan Edwards, but let me tell you, I think that we have a better running back room than they do in Ann Arbor.
I agree. If they can stay
If
healthy.
if they can stay healthy, we have a better running back room than they do in Ann Arbor. The thing that makes the difference is the five big uglies up front. Because I'll tell you what, you put Travion or Mayan behind the offensive line that they have, God only knows what kind of numbers they'd
Yeah.
be putting up.
TC McCaffrey was at the practice I was at. He was participating, Robert. Will Travion have a huge year or continue as part of a platoon? I think it's going to be 1A and 1B. I think you could just about
And,
guarantee, unless
and
one
they
of them
could
gets
both have
hurt.
huge years. They
hmm
really could.
Yes, Larry, this is what we've been pounding the pulpit about here. Seriously, with the running back room, we ought to be pounding the crap out of the opponents. Yes, and we should be
Yes.
running the football much, much more. Much, much more. Larry agrees with you, Chris. That's always good to have someone on your side. And Chris says, "Yeah, we need to have maulers on offensive line. We do. They are maulers. They're
That
great
is
at run
why
blocking.
that is why that team up north has beaten us the last 2 years.
Yes,
Is they're physical and they run the ball and they keep the ball out of the hands of the high powered offenses.
and we have that. We have an offensive line that can run block. That's
So
what
that's
they
what
were
we need to
great at.
do.
It, will we run to open the pass? I doubt it because I don't think it's in Ryan Day's nature. I think that he likes to pass to open the run more. Um, yeah, another great question, Frank. What are you guys seeing at center? I was hoping Hinsman would have that locked down by now. Well, I know this much. It's between him and Victor Cutler. Um, who was the other guy that they were
Jacob
saying?
James.
Jacob James is nowhere to be found in that competition, and Day pretty much said so in his press conference. It's
Yeah,
between
and
those two
he was
guys.
taking first team snaps a little bit last week, wasn't he?
He will, yeah, and it's not going to happen for him. I think it's Hintzman's. I think he's got it locked down. They're not going to say that because they don't want the other guys to hit the transfer portal, but yeah, you're right. Jacob James. Yep, that's who we were trying to come up with a name with there for Ryan. Thank you.